Common vampire bat. Do you remember Count Dracula? This character is very related to the vampire bat, the mammal that feeds on blood.
Batman is thousands of bats. Mission 2, deciphering the yikes in science. Two things, what is yikes and where and why do we yikes out? First things first, in science, yikes basically means, in a nutshell, finger scan. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to get a question. The question is going to be really long, longer than 2 lines of text. You're going to read the question, then you're going to look at the graph or the chart, you're going to get confused, have no idea what's going on, and then guess C. Yikes means, in order for you to understand the graph or the chart, you need a definition. You're not strong enough to understand the graph or the chart. So, yikes means we are going to finger scan in the text area. So the where is going to be in the text area. And why do we do it? Because we need more information, a definition that we're looking for. So here's what we do. We go back into the question stem. That's the question itself, not the answers. Pick a key word that you feel is like the most relevant word. And then go into the text area and simply finger scan for that word. It will give you a definition. Once you underline the definition in the text area, that will help you understand the graph or the chart and be able to answer the question. Let's go ahead and take a look at how we're going to proceed with our mission. How to use this mission most effectively. First of all, this mission is a follow along. What we'll do is we'll pull up some questions. You'll have your PDF copy in front of you, and then I'll say, let's look at this problem number. I'll give you some suggestions, then I'll tell you, pause the video. You pause the video, listen to the suggestion that I gave you, you do what I suggested, come back, turn the video back on. I'm going to give you the answer and a quick overview of what you should have done. You'll be able to see exactly how to do it correctly. All right. Inside the explanation for each question, you're going to listen for a secret foghorn that tells you that the secret word is coming. So when you hear the foghorn, get ready to write down the word. There's a space in your PDF that you'll be able to write your secret word down. Collect all your secret words to get and decipher the secret message from the mission code. All right, let's go ahead and get started with some problems. All right, let's get started. Practice problem number 6, kids. So if you look over here, you see this is a very long question. So what I want you to do is put a circle around the question itself, which is the bottom part, just like this. Read this, analyze this information. Then look at your answer choices and subgenius map the first thing in the answer choices, like this, okay? Then if there's a term in here that needs some type of a definition, go in and finger scan for it. When you're done, go ahead, get an answer, and we'll come on back with the explanations. Pause the video now. All right, when I look at this problem here, I read the bottom part here. It says, based on the information in the passage, what would the theoretical I value be? So I underline I value. And then I underline this CHO and KCL. All right? When you come over here, now this is a yikes problem. We're going to need to find where it says I value. So I put a circle around this. I finger scan for it. And what it says about the I value, it says the I value is a solid with the total number of particles produced. Okay? So we have these particles that are being dissolved. So if you just look over here and you underline this stuff, okay? So that's what we have there. Now, I come back over here, and I look and see we've got the sucrose, and we've got KCl. But I look over here, I see that we've got KCl, and KCl gives us 2. But I don't see sucrose over here. So now it's time to read the top part over here. And here's what it says. Sucrose is a compound that remains intact when dissolved in water. So basically, that means it doesn't dissolve, right? So we know that sucrose is going to be less than 2 because here's the KCl. So if it doesn't dissolve, it's going to be less. So we can go ahead and we can cross out answer choice J and H. And then you just simply read the 2 choices. It says in F, it says most likely 1, or G says greater than 4. Well, it can't be greater than 4 because the KCl is 2. So the only answer choice that makes sense here is answer choice F, kids. The secret word for this question is the word the. All right, on to problem number 9. First of all, it's a long question, so circle the question itself. Then look at the answers. Underline the first thing that appears in the answer choices. And then if you have to yikes out, go ahead and look for some kind of a secret word in the text area or look at the graph. Pause the video now. We'll come on back with the explanations in a moment. All right, here's what you should have done. You should have read this part first. All right, it says, compared to the non-mutated E. coli cells, strain X moves where? Okay. All right, so I know I'm looking for this keyword here is strain X and move. Put a circle around that. Okay, now I went ahead and said, where does that come from? I just quickly glanced and saw it was in table 2. So here we are with X, and then it says removal. All right, move and removal. So when you move something or you remove it, is that going into, or is that going out? When you remove it, it's going out. You see how we can just think move? It's like a Scooby-Doo almost, kids. So A and B are both out, and then you just look at the two difference. It says C, it's going to decrease the rate. Well, right here it says increase the rate. How easy is that? Boom. The answer choice on this one is D, kids. The secret word for this particular problem is bottom. Problem number 10, you notice that it's a long question. All right, first thing you want to do is read the question itself. I put a circle around it. Subgenius map is the second thing here with the candy list rule. Underline the first thing that appears. Then you're probably going to look at the table wherever it tells you to do, and then from here you might have to read the first part. Pause the video here. We'll come on back with the explanation in a moment. All right, so I read the bottom part first, right? It says, based on table 1, I underline table 1, which strain, W or X, I underline W and I underline X, would more likely be the greatest number surviving, okay? And then I underline greatest, okay? So I come over here and I look at table 1. So table 1 is here. I have W and X right here, so you're comparing these two. And you're looking for the greatest, so you're going to have to look in the column here. All right, I got a general idea of what's going on. Now I come back and I read the first part. It says, suppose equal numbers of W and X were exposed 24 hours at the concentration of 2. All right, so right away you see the concentration of 2. It's right here, you see it? So it's either 0.3 or 0.8. Which one would be greater? 0.8 is greater, and that would lead you to X, so that's going to be the correct answer. All right, we can cross out the choices that say W, so that means F and G are out. And now let's read the two remaining choices, H and J. H says strain X because the fitness is 0.8, all right? Is it? Yup. And it says strain W is 3. Yep, that's right on track, so that's the correct answer. If you look at J, why is J wrong? J says strain X is 0.9. Well, in 2, you see that that's just flat out wrong. H is the correct answer. Kids, the secret word for this particular problem is of, O-F. Practice problem number 12. First thing you see, it's a very long question, so we want to go ahead and read the question itself, starting with was. Put a circle around that whole part there. Second thing that you want to do is you want to go ahead and underline the stuff that's important. Have a glance over and look and see if we can find what they're talking about over here. Come on back and then read the top part, and if there's a term that needs to be defined, finger scan for it, yikes style. Pause the video, we'll come on back with the explanations in a minute. Alright, so the question itself over here, the bottom part says, was the strain more likely strain U, so I underline U, or Z? Alright, and then here it says at 0 going to 8. Okay, so I quickly come over here, I find strain U and strain Z, and I see that we're going from 0 to 8. See how I just kind of got oriented? I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm just glancing to feel like I'm getting a comfort level to make sure I know where I am. Now, you come back over here and you read the top part. All right? When we read the top part, it says this. In a study, relative fitness of non-mutated, I circle that because that's our yikes word. Okay? And it was set at 1. All right? So when we look over here, we already know that we're starting at 0 and it's set at 1, and 0 is set at 1 as well. You see it? U and Z. Now I need to go and find where it talks about mutated. I see up here it says mutation. So I read this. It says some mutation of E. coli allows bacteria to survive exposure. So when it mutates, it's going to survive. All right? But they're telling you here in the question, it's non-mutated. That means it's not going to survive. So we have to look at this column here at 8. Here is 0, and here's 1.5. If a mutation allows it to survive, a non-mutated means it will not survive. So that means you're looking at the 0 here. That would be U. And that will give you the answer choice of F and G. So you can cross out these two. All right? Then you just simply look over here. It's either 0.8 for F, for a G, or 0 for F. Well, you already know here it's not surviving at 0. It's pretty straightforward. It's F. Secret word for this problem, kids, is going to be the word the. What a great problem to work on. The next one here, kids, is problem number 20. So we'll see some cool techniques here. So it's not really too long of a question stem, so we can go ahead and read this. But what I would like you to do here is let's candy list the first thing that appears in your answer choices, all right? Since we're talking about hypothesis 1 and 2, you're going to probably have to read the topic sentences here. Use your answer choices to guide you with the candy list rule. Pause the video. We'll come on back with an explanation in a second. All right, so here it says a supporter of hypothesis 1 and 2 would most likely agree on what about the crust for the Earth, okay? I come over here, I subgenius map. We got carbon, we got nitrogen, you got both, and you have neither. All right, so I know I'm looking at carbon, nitrogen in the topic sentences. You see how that gave me somewhere to look? So here's your carbon, circle it, and here's your nitrogen. And then you come over here and it says carbon and nitrogen, right? See how carbon matches with carbon and carbon matches with carbon, okay? The answer is going to be both. Answer choice H. Easy. Use your answer choices to guide you. The secret word for this question is the word butter. 23 is the next problem. Man, what a great problem. Kids, watch this procedure. You're going to see that this science stuff's pretty darn easy. What we're going to do is we're going to reduce the question stem here, starting with the bottom part to understand what's going on here. Then you're going to have to glance over at the hypothesis 1 and 2, your topic sentences up here, right? Don't forget to candy list rule your first thing over here. Answer the question. We'll come on back with the explanation in a second. All right, first thing we do here is read the bottom part, starting with described to the bottom. All right, and it says describe the difference between hypothesis 1 and 2. Hypothesis 1 does what with the CH? CH4. So I got CH4 here, and I know that we're going to have to find that. So here's our CH4 here, and then our CH4 is here, right? I read the topic sentences here, and in this first hypothesis, it says microbes produce it, and over here it says volcanic eruptions. All right? Candy list rule, released, released, produced, produced. All right? Now let's read the whole question again, see how we set it up. Really what you're doing is you're kind of like taking a small bite and then chewing and swallowing it and then taking another bite. So the question, when we read the whole thing, it says this: in regards to the source of CH4, early atmosphere with the following blah blah blah. What's the difference between 1 and 2? According to 1, CH4 came from where? Well, here CH1 came from producing, microbes produced it. So that means that released is out for A and B. So produced. You see how we reduce that down candy list rule style? Now we already know that this says eruption. So when something is erupt, it's going to release. So that's going to lead you to answer choice C. Eruption is a Scooby-Doo for releasing. Secret word for this question is bucket. Alright, back at it, kids. It's practice problem number 25. Here it says hypothesis 1 is supported by which of the following? CO2 and CH4. Alright, so go in and read your topic sentence, find these two things. Then take a look at, once you find what's going on in the topic sentence, then look at your answer choices and try and find what's going on with that. Pause the video here. We'll take a look at this closer in a second. Alright, so when I came over here, I know that hypothesis 1 is over here. I need to find CO2 and CH4. So CO2 is here, and CH4 is here. Okay, so it says CO2 is released, and then here it says the CH4 is produced by microbes. So I know that I'm looking for releasing CO2, and I'm looking for produced by microbes. That's the topic sentence, nouns and verbs. So the answer choices have to match that. If you look over here, I came over and I said present concentration is going to be our verb. Present concentration is our verb in B. C says produced by microbes, but here it's CO2. And here it says CH4 is produced by microbes. Right away, we know that it's produced by microbes, because CO2 is not present day. This is volcanic eruptions a long time ago. So A and B both can be crossed out right away. We're left with produced by microbes and produced by microbes. But here it's asking us CH4, and here it says CH4 is produced by microbes. You see it? So that leaves us with the correct answer, which is going to be answer choice D. C is wrong because it talks about CO2 being released by microbes. That's not producing. They're not producing the CO2. The volcano is doing that. Correct answer D on this one. Kids, secret word for this particular problem is going to be is. Problem number 30. It's pretty short and sweet, but be careful. We're going to go ahead and underline what's important here. We're going to glance over at the stuff. And then if you get lost, don't forget to use your yikes. Also, candy list rule your first thing in your answer choices. Pause the video here. We'll come on back with explanation in a second. Alright, when we read the question based on the information given, what is the direction of the fluid flowing? I underline that. And then I'm going to subgenius map candy list rule style in my answer choice. I've got G, gauge G, gauge G, gauge H, gauge H. So right away, first thing that I do is I look over here at the diagram. But you don't really know what's going on when you look at that, right? So it turns into a yikes problem. Come back over here and it says fluid flowing. And in the text area here, you see it says fluid. All right, so we read this. It says the pressure of the fluid in gauge G minus. So if we're going to minus H, we're going to have to start with G. Does that make sense? Just a math formula. So we already have knocked these two answer choices here. H can be out right away because you can't start with something negative. We can knock these two out right away. All right, so what's the difference between the two choices remaining? S says gauge G towards gauge H, because the pressure in gauge G was greater than the pressure of H. And answer choice G says gauge G and H because the pressure in gauge G was less. So we can subgenius map again. We have less and we have greater. You see how now we're converting over to our verbs, our actions, greater or less. So if we're going to minus something and it's less, that doesn't make any sense. The correct answer on this one is going to be answer choice F. Secret word for this problem is going to be the word the. Alright kids, it's on to the last passage. We've got 3 more questions left. Let's take a look at 37. 37 is a longer question, so let's go ahead and circle the actual question itself, read it, and then you're going to come over and look at study 2, which is the topic sentence. Alright, we'll come on back with the answers and explanations in a second. Pause the video now. Alright, in the actual question it says, can the claim be evaluated based on the results of study 2? So right away I come over here, I find study 2, and I'm going to read my topic sentence. Okay? So when I read the topic sentence, it says this: an additional 240 of the 2-liter pots were prepared, treated, and irrigated the same, see it, as study 1. Okay? So now I know we're irrigating, and you see over here it says irrigated as well. Alright, let's read the top part now. We're kind of biting some small chunks and chewing and then swallowing and then biting some more off. Alright, so now I know the irrigation is the same in 1 and 2. When we read the top part, it says, consider the claim the average height of the plants in a group was affected by the number of days the pots were irrigated. Well, if the irrigation is the same in study 1 and study 2, it's going to have to be no, because that is just something that's going to be static throughout the whole experiment, 1 and 2. Alright? So right away we can cross out answer choice A, yes, and B, yes. So it's no, no. Alright? See how we kind of candy list rule that? When we read both of them, C says, because the number of days of irrigation was the same for all groups, and D says because the number of days in the irrigation was different. Well, you already know here it gave you that. C's the answer on that one, kids. Alright? Don't watch what I'm saying, just think about what I'm doing. You see how I'm basically doing razor blade stuff from English. It's like the less information, the shorter the sentences and everything, it just seems like it's easier. You're kind of throwing it in your own words. I'm showing you where to go to get the primary information. You can see it. The primary information is always coming from the topic sentence, and the primary information is always going to come from a shortened version of the answer choices. Remember, the trap on the test is to give you really long sentences, and then when you get a long sentence, you don't really understand what it's saying, so then you get confused. So simplify it. Secret word for this particular question is going to be the word butter again. Butter. Problem 38, it is a long question, so let's start by actually reading the question down over here. Going back and taking a look at and seeing what we have in our graph or our table. And then coming back, reading in here, and don't forget, if you get lost, pick a keyword that needs some type of a definition, finger scan style, that's why we call it Yikes. And then final thing here is we're going to sub-genius map candy list rule style. Yes, yes, no, no. Alright, you should be able to reduce it down to 2, and then you're going to have to go back in and sub-genius map. The second thing in there is probably going to be the verb. Pause the video here, we'll take a look at the explanation in a second. Alright, when we come over here, we read the questions part here, that's the bottom part. It says, are the results of the study 5, 7, and 9 days after the treatment consistent with this statement? Okay, so we have to find 5, 7, and 9. Alright, so here it is right here. Here's days, right? So I'm just glancing over here. 5, 7, and 9. This top number is 3, so I'm actually just going to cross that out so I don't get confused. Alright, because we're not worrying about 3. We're looking at 5, 7, and 9. Alright, now we come back over here and let's read the top part. Alright, the top part says, consider the statement, treatment of species R was more effective at promoting seed germination with higher levels of NaCl than PMA. Alright, right away, this is a Yikes problem, and you see that we're looking for NaCl in the text. You come over here, NaCl is here, and it tells you that NaCl is only in groups 2 through 4. So we go, where are the groups? Here are the groups right here, 2 through 4. And you're going to compare 2 through 4 to group 1, because group 1 has got the PMA. So I go ahead and put my arrows in the columns for group 2 because we're going from 0 to 0.4. That's increasing or promoting. 4.3 to 5, that's increasing or promoting. And 4 going to 4.8, that's increasing or promoting. So when you look over here, you see in group 1, it's 5, 5, and 5. That's static. That's not increasing, so it's not promoting, right? So when you add the NaCl in the groups here, the answer is going to be yes. So let's cross the nose out, H and J. Now, we read both of the answer choices and we just check. You just look back at table 2 to see which one is true. Here it says in F, yes, because those days the average number of seed germinations per pot was greater in 3 than 4. Okay, so here's 3. 3 maxes out at 5, and 4 maxes out at 4.8. That's true. Put a dot by it. We take a look and check answer choice G. G says yes, because the average number of seeds per pot in 4 was greater than 3. Well, that's opposite. You already know just by looking at this and spot checking it that F's the correct answer on that one. Kids, the secret word for this problem is bucket. All right, the final question. Let's go out with a bang, kids. So first things first, it is a long question, STEM. So let's read the question first. We'll go look at the stuff to get oriented. If you feel like you're okay with that, come on back and then read the top part. And then, if you feel like you're still a little bit lost, pick a keyword, finger scan, find that keyword in the passage. Then jump on back, take a look at your sub-genius map candy list rule, yes, yes, no, no, and answer the question. Pause the video now, we'll take a look at the explanations in a second. Alright, first thing that I did is I read the question over here. It starts with, do the results of study 2 support this statement? Alright, so I know I'm dealing with study 2, so here's study 2. First thing I would do, read the topic sentence. And here's what it says. An additional 240 of the 2-liter pots were prepared, treated, and irrigated the same way as study 1. Okay, that makes sense. Then I want to see irrigated. This is another thing that we saw here. And then if you look over here, it tells you that NaCl is coming only from groups 2 through 4. So that kind of makes me look back up here at table 2. All right, makes sense? All right, so I'm kind of looking at that. Now let's read the question. The question, new information at the top, it says, consider the statement, on average, plant height was greater for plants with PMA and NaCl than for the other stuff, okay? So I feel like this is a yikes problem. PMA is something that we need to find. We already found NaCl yikesing, okay? So PMA, look, I can't find PMA. Whoa, PMA is right here, hidden. Did you guys find it? Here, it's important because PMA is only found in study 4. So now we go back up, take a look at group 4. All right, here we start at 2.8 and go down to 4.8. Here, group 3, 1.1 to 5, 0 to 0.4, and here, I'm just throwing my arrows in like we would normally do, okay? So I reread the question. Consider the statement, on average, plant height was greater when you had water with PMA and NaCl than with the other stuff. So is this a yes or a no? So group 4 is the only one that's got PMA. So if the answer is yes, that means the largest number has got to come from group 4, but that's not true because group 3 is larger, so the answer is going to be no. Cross out the yeses. Now, we're going to come over here and look at the difference. No, the average height, all right? So I'm looking up here, and I'm looking at the... Did you guys do this? I'm looking for height. Wait, here is the average number. I'm in the wrong column. I'm pointing to the wrong area. I need to find height. See it? The answer choice talks about height, and height comes from over here. See it? Okay. So here are the groups. Here's group 4. But wait, group 3 is higher. We saw that over here, right? With the germinated plants. But now we're talking about the right thing. So answer choice H says, no, the average plant height for group 3 was greater than 2. So we come over here. So is that true? Group 3, is that greater than 2? Yes. Okay. And then it says, but was greater than group 2, but less than 4. Is it less than 4? No, 4 is less, so that's going to be wrong. The answer choice on this one, kids, it's J. Don't listen to what I say. Watch what I do. The whole concept of this video is to make sure that you have a step-by-step logical procedure so you can talk about anything. You're going to get stuff in science that's just confusing. So always look at your answer choices. Use the candy list rule. If you get a long question, always read the question at the end of the stem first. Go ahead and get oriented by looking at your stuff to just kind of glance and say, okay, I kind of get it, right? Then come back and read the top part and add it. You're taking small little nibbles. Nibble, nibble, swallow. Nibble, nibble, swallow. Nibble, nibble, swallow. The trap on the test is to give you too much information and you don't understand because you're confused, and it's a time test, so they're going to make you rush. That's the whole trap. So if it's too much information, razor blade, simplify, candy list rule, all of that stuff is basically saying put it in a simpler form. Alright, that's it for today's video, kids. Secret word for this particular problem is bottom. Thanks for watching. Congratulations on completing this mission.